Hello everybody, and welcome to my Star Wars The Old Republic beta review. Now, as anyone that's been watching my Twitter or my YouTube channel comments already knows, I got into this last week into beta, and decided that now that the NDA has been lifted, I was going to record a hell of a lot of gameplay footage, and post it up along with my general thoughts on the beta itself. Now, this wasn't the first beta weekend I'd taken place in. I played it one a couple weeks ago as well, and they still had my character, so I was able to pick up from level, I think 13 or 14, somewhere in there, as a Jedi Consular Shadow, which is the only character I played in the beta. I want to be a trooper on release, but I didn't want to ruin that for the actual game, so I decided I was going to be the Consular. Now, for my review, I'm going to start with BioWare's legendary fourth pillar, the big thing they thought they were adding into the MMO genre, and that is the story. Specifically, the story in questing. But well, before I get there, let's actually talk about just the feel of questing itself. First of all, if you're expecting anything other than a World of Warcraft clone, I'm going to go ahead and say you're going to be very disappointed. Don't expect Star Wars Galaxies, don't expect any groundbreaking changes in combat or how the game works. I mean, this is effectively World of Warcraft with a Star Wars skin. Now, I'm definitely not saying that in a negative connotation. World of Warcraft has millions of subscribers, and for good reason. As much as people may hate it, it is a damn good game. People love it. I love it. I played it for years. But don't expect any major changes to the format here. The changes that there are majoritively for the good. Like I said, the story, and mainly the questing structure is really great as well. As opposed to World of Warcraft's go kill 3,000 of these quests, you'll get a quest where you talk to an NPC, you actually go through voice-acted dialogue while they tell you what you're going to need to do, and it's not a grindy type quest. I haven't seen one really grindy quest yet. Most of the quests, if you just go out and do them, not counting travel time, probably only take about 3 to 4 minutes to do. Like, for instance, I had to go take seismic readings on some pipes in major areas underground on Coruscant to make sure the planet wasn't going to fall apart. Now, what they do is during these quests, you'll have a bonus objective. And the bonus objective is where they put the grinding. So, I mean, this is completely optional. You don't have to do this. If you particularly like an area, feel free to kill the fuck out of everything, get your bonus objective, and walk away with some extra experience and loot. But that's never the main objective of the quest, which I think is a great decision. Now, the downside of this, and I'm going to warn you this in advance for anyone that's going to play Tor, if you walk into an area and have a bonus objective to kill 10 guys in the first area of the map, and you're like, and you go through, do your quest there, didn't even kill 10 guys, you're like, fuck it, I'll come back and do it later. Go back through the area and do the rest of your quest. Most of the bonus objectives for the main story quests are multi-tiered, as in you kill the 10 guys in the first little area of that map, and a little robot comes down, projects up a screen, and you get another bonus objective to go kill 30 guys in the next area. So if you don't do these progressively, I never even bothered to go back into them afterward because the numbers get really ridiculously high. Like, I had one to kill 45 people once, which sounds a lot worse than it is because in the Old Republic, another major difference here, the game attempts to make combat feel more heroic by having you face groups of enemies instead of individuals. You almost never fight an individual enemy, and when you do, it's an elite. Well, it might be a strong in the very beginning. But enemies have tiers, kind of like World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft's got regular and elite. This game's got regular, strong, elite, and I don't even know what the tier above that is called. I know there's one between elite and boss. It's like super badass. But as a player character with a companion, you can generally take an elite enemy by yourself, maybe 2 strong enemies by yourself, or 4 to 5 weak enemies. Now this is actually, I really like this, because it really does make the combat feel more heroic. It's not your Jedi running up wailing on one person most of the time, and when you do, it's a big badass person, and it feels like a big badass person, and it's a difficult fight. 1v1s with elites, half the time ended up with my companion dead and me at half health, because those guys are fucking scary. But when you're running around just murdering groups of Imperial retards, or fucking stormtroopers or little droids nobody cares about, I mean, you kill them en masse. It makes you feel a lot more like a badass. Now, while I was talking about my companion, let me go ahead and bring that up here. I'm going to have to go ahead and warn you guys, companions are the most disappointing part of the game. They're really glitchy, they feel really poorly implemented, I mean, when you're in combat, you have your action bars and your companion's action bar. The companion's action bar is collapsible down in the corner. Now, while the bar is collapsed, you can't use any of his abilities. Unless you have them set to have him use them automatically, even if they're hotkeyed. I mean, I had Alt and all my regular action bar keys keybound to my companion's abilities, but I couldn't use them unless I expanded the companion's bar, which is completely retarded because it covers up one of your action bars when you expand it. I never really, I just gave up on it, said fuck it, and told him to automatically use all his abilities himself. Because even when I did command him to do things, there's a delay. I mean, you tell him to go attack someone. My companion, Quaizen Fess, he's a melee. He's a Trandoshan. He's a melee guy. He runs around with an electro staff and beats face. If I tell him to go attack something, he'd stop. He'd pull out his electro staff. He'd turn it on, and then he'd start walking toward the enemy. I mean, I couldn't do what I did with my pets in WoW, where I'd tell them to go attack as I was running at them. And mid-stride, they would just pick up the target and charge them. Because if we're running at someone and I tell Quaizen to attack, he will stop while he pulls out his electro staff and turns it on. I mean, he'll end up behind me. It's better to just say, fuck it, run into combat and let him do what he feels like. Micromanaging your companion really doesn't work, which is disappointing because I really wanted to do that, honestly. However, companions with the crafting is really nice. With Tor's crafting system, you don't really do anything. It's all your companions. If you find a resource node out in the world, sure, you can pick it up yourself. I mean, literally, the default key binding is shift right-click to harvest it yourself. Just right-clicking on a node will tell your companion to go harvest it, which is a really nice addition, because if I'm running by and I see one 30 yards that way, I'm like, hey, Fess, go get that. And he just runs over and harvests it, and I keep going about my merry way and go on to beating ass or whatever it is I was going to do, running towards an objective. And I don't have to worry about stopping to pick up the resource node. Or if there's two of them, I can get one, he can get one, we can pick them up faster. However, the actual crafting bit is always done by your companions. As far as I know, unless I missed an option somewhere, and I'm pretty sure I didn't, your character isn't actually able to craft anything. All you can do is you can command your companions to, either the guy with you can go back to the ship, or someone's waiting on the ship can do it. You can command them to make you shit out of your crafting. Or, you can also send them on missions. Like, for instance, there are mission skills, like I had Underworld Trading. The only thing that crew skill does is let you send your companions out on missions to go get nice things. I mean, every time I sent one of my companions out on a crew skill mission for Underworld Trading, assuming he didn't fail, because C2N2 failed one, and I hate him, because it costs credits to do these missions, credits and time. Assuming they don't fail, they always came back with some rare quality resource. Which is really nice, because it gave me a good supply of these to use for crafting and my synth weaving skill. Which is, I guess, like tailoring, kind of. There's not really WoW equivalents to these skills, because they don't work the same way. There's not like a light armor crafting skill and a medium armor crafting skill. I, for the life of me, can't figure out what differentiates armor mech from synth weaving. Because they're both armor crafting skills, and they both make all 3 tiers of armor. The only thing I can think of is I think armor mech is more like actual armor, whereas synth weaving is like Jedi robes and shit. Because there are Jedi robes that are considered heavy armor, but I don't really know. I didn't really get into it enough to figure that out. I didn't do enough with the crew skills. I got my gathering skill up to like 50 or so, but everything else is 10. And that was for the one time I just told Quaizen Fest to go make a fuckload of belts, because I was pissed off at him, because he's retarded. And speaking of that, the only thing I ever really felt about Quaizen Fest, I mean, granted, this is my only companion, he doesn't even speak English, so might not be the best example here. But the only thing I ever felt about him was that he was annoying. I mean, if me and him teamed up and took down an elite, yeah, we kind of felt like badasses, but I didn't feel like Quaizen really did anything but tank and sponge hits while I beat his ass. As far as the story goes, I never really gave a fuck about Quaizen. If anyone's been in the beta and they played a consular, you know who Quaizen Fess is. He's your Jedi Master's friend. He's, like I said, a Trandoshan. Doesn't speak English. Everything he says has subtitles. But he's obsessed with something called, like the hunt. And the scorekeeper's basically his god. I guess he gets points for killing things. And, I mean, that sounds kind of funny, and you're like, yeah, that's quirky and cool. But, I mean, really, I never gave a fuck about Quaizen's story. I didn't care that he joined up with me. I don't care about him. The only reason I use him is because he's a tank, and I need one, because I was basically one of those rogue-type stab you from behind characters, so I needed someone to tank the hits for me so I could keep stabbing people in the spine with my lightsaber. But for as much as BioWare touted their story, I never gave a flying fuck about Quaisette Fest. I mean, granted, the storyline in a lot of other places is really good, and I'll get to that in a minute. But as far as he goes, I'm not really excited for what's going to happen with the companions at all. Now, to finish up the general questing thing here, let's talk about grouping. There are a lot of group quests in TOR, a lot of group quests. Everything from 2-man quests to 4-man quests. Which is actually kind of misleading, because a 2-man quest is really you two and both of your companions, so it almost is a 4-man quest, whereas a 4-man quest is just 4 people. Because if you don't have a full group, your companions can fill in the empty slots. Like, say you had a 4-man instance, and you can only find 3 people. You can have a companion fill up the 4th slot. The point is you have to have 4 people total, counting players and companions. But as far as grouping goes, to go back to the original topic here, I really liked the group quests. They were a lot of fun. They were a great break from just running around solo questing. The big downside is it's really hard to find a group in that game. I mean, we're going back to vanilla World of Warcraft here, and I know I keep making World of Warcraft references, but this game is just, it's so goddamn similar, you can't not compare it to World of Warcraft. And that's also the only major big name MMO I've played. So I don't have experience with EverQuest or Ion or any of those things. So I'm going to keep comparing it to World of Warcraft, shut the hell up. Anyway, it's really hard to find a group because there's no sort of group finding tool. I mean, fuck no, I don't want a multi-realm random dungeon finder, that was retarded. But I would like something, some sort of list or something I could put my name on that says, hey, I want to go do this, and search other people on my server that want to do it as well. And then maybe be like, hey bro, you want to go do Trouble Indeed and kill these fuckers that took over this guy's company? Oh sure, yeah, let's go. Instead of me just spamming general chat for like 45 minutes, waiting for somebody to get to Trouble Indeed so we could get a full group of 4 people, because we needed to get a healer and stuff, because that's actually like, there's a lot of full group quests. There's a lot of like, you need a full 4-man group with a tank and healer quests. I mean, we managed Trouble Indeed without a real tank, per se, with a lot of crowd control. But we had to have a healer, or we would never survive that. But anyway, I just really want some sort of group fighting tool. Now, to move on from group quests, let's talk about the dungeons. I'm going to go ahead and say, I really like the dungeons I did. Granted, all I did, I ran the SLS once, and like half of Hammer Station, which I fucking didn't have fraps running, so I didn't record any of Hammer Station. So this is all SLS footage. But I ran the SLS once, and half of Hammer Station, and I really like the feel of PvE dungeons in this game. It's, again, very wowish. You got a tank, a 2 DPS, and a healer. There's no companions involved unless you have a group member missing, and as you'll notice in this SLS footage, we do, and my companion Quaisette Fest is actually our tank for this group. Which is really nice, because we said, fuck it, I can't find a tank, I'll have Quaisette do it. I really like that option. It helps you get into a dungeon a lot faster. And I think that'll only really fly with the SLS though, because this dungeon's really only tuned for 2 people. I don't know if that was just for the beta so more people could get into it, or what the choice was there. But the dungeon's supposedly tuned for 2 people with 2 companions. All the other dungeons like Hammer Station are tuned for a full group. So I don't know how well taking Quaisette Fest in the tank is going to work in anything but the SLS. But the option's still there, which is nice. Now, as far as the boss fights, which, as everyone knows, is the only real interesting part of any dungeon, which isn't true in TOR, but I'll get to that. They're nice. They pose a pretty decent challenge. Of course, I was doing a level 10 dungeon and a little bit of a level 15 dungeon, so I mean, the bosses are majoritively tank and spank and don't stand in the fire. So I don't really have a good view of what bosses are going to get to be in the end game. I would imagine BioWare is going to have something more, I guess, difficult, more complicated further on to the game. But just because I say the bosses were tank and spank, don't take that to mean they're boring. The boss fights were very wildly varied, and I really liked it. It wasn't, you had one boss, the first guy, Lieutenant, burst in the room with a bunch of dudes, and you're basically holding him off as he's attacking the ship. Second boss, you walk into a room and he attacks you with a bunch of his guys, and you just bring the fight to him. And then the third boss is a traditional, he's standing there, walk up and fight him. And the fourth boss is a big story tied to him. I mean, I cannot overstate how much having an actual story in these dungeons makes them so much more interesting. Having an actual voice-acted character explain to you what the fuck's going on, and having people with real motivation and reasons for being there involved in every part of the dungeon makes it so much more interesting. Walking into Iron Fist's room and punching him in the face would not be half as satisfying if it were not for all the dialogue and cutscenes that led up to that point. I mean, seriously, it is unbelievable. Like, even if you say you don't give a flying fuck about the story, you cannot knock this until you try it. You really can't. The dungeon never gets boring, even when you're just plowing through trash to get to the next boss. It never gets boring. Boss fights never feel repetitive, even though they're all pretty tank and spanky. There was enough variety and enough storyline behind it that I was felt engaged the entire time, which I definitely like. And speaking of that story, while we're on that topic, there's a lot of choices in the dungeons. You get a lot of light side, dark side choices. And I can see this kind of causing a problem, or at least some sort of ill will, when you end up with a group that doesn't agree on what choices to take. I mean, I got lucky because my entire group said fuck everybody and picked the dark side option for everything. So we didn't really have that much of a problem, because we all agreed. But one option, for instance, on the SLS, you get an option to either try and save these engineers. You have to override a security console. There's two ways to do that. You can save these engineers that are behind a wall by breaking these like 10 or 15 little security override panel thingies, so you can get them out of the airlock they're stuck in, and they can help you override the security console, which obviously sends you off to go break 10 to 15 console thingies, and probably takes a lot of time and a lot of fighting. It's more difficult. Or if you vent the airlock, and I don't honestly remember exactly why this happened, but if you vent the airlock and break that, seal that way, that opens up the area you need to get to. However, venting the airlock that the engineers are stuck in obviously ejects all of the engineers into space. So, I mean, aside from the fact that you're getting your light side or dark side points based on what you pick here, this changes how the dungeon goes. I mean, if you have people, let's say in the future, a guy's rolling his 8th character, and he's sick of the SLAs, and he just wants to get it over with, so he picks the dark side options, just so he doesn't have to run around and break these 15 thingies. And one guy in the group picks the light side option and wins. I mean, anyone who's played WoW now knows how the vote kick tool gets abused. I mean, there's nothing like that in TOR right now, because you put the group together yourself. It's all based on the group leader. So, I don't know, I can just see this causing a lot of problems in the future. Hopefully it wouldn't. I can hope people will be better than that, but I know they're not. And just for anyone who's worried, even if one guy did pick the light side option, you still get your dark side points for what you picked to do. You get points based on your intention, whether you win the role or not. So, that's basically covers dungeons and questing and the PvE side of things there. So let's talk about PvP. Personally, I like me some PvP. I like beating ass. It's what I did in World of Warcraft. I've always enjoyed it. Well, I don't know if more than Dungeons and Raids, because I like Dungeons and Raids a lot, don't get me wrong. But I've always loved PvP. And, unfortunately, TOR's PvP in its current state is incredibly disappointing. Like, incredibly disappointing. Let's go over the war zones first. There's 3 war zones. There's Huttball, Battle for Alderaan, and the Void Star. Of these 3, only Battle for Alderaan doesn't suck. Huttball is absolutely horrible. And Void Star is a good idea that's just implemented really poorly. And they can fix the Void Star. They can make the Void Star great, but I think there is no fucking hope for Huttball. That game is just absolutely horrible. Huttball, ball in middle, big catwalks going up to either team's base. Objective is to get ball and take it to other team's base. It's basically soccer with lightsabers and death, which is pretty glorious. A pretty glorious concept, but it doesn't really work. You can there's all sorts of just game-breaking things about Huttball. The main one is that ranged classes have just got such a ridiculous edge over melee classes on that map just because the catwalks everywhere. It's unbelievable how much of an advantage a ranged class can have. A ranged guy can be shooting at a melee player from somewhere that can take the melee player literally 45 seconds to run up to. He'd be long dead by that point. The ranged guy can shoot at him the whole fucking time. And even if they do have some sort of gap closer like the Jedi Knight or the Sith Warriors lead, almost every ranged DPS has a knockback, so they can just throw the melee right off the catwalk. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. There's no balance at all in that map. And on top of that, because of the way the map's designed, once someone gets the ball and gets up on the catwalks, unless somebody suicides and tries to spawn their base to head them off, there's no way to catch them. Because, I mean, you're behind the guy with the ball who's just bailing across these catwalks. And you end up just chasing him down with no way to catch him. I mean, I'm hoping some of this gets balanced out at higher levels. Because granted, I only played Hut Ball when I was like level 12. I didn't ever play it when I was a higher level. I kept getting Void Star and Battle for Alderaan. But I'm hoping at a higher level. I didn't have force speed when I played Hut Ball. I mean, that would have helped with the chasing people across catwalks problem. But I mean, the problems are still there. Just the map is terrible. The map is terrible. 3/4 of the map doesn't even get fucking used because it's down below the catwalk and there's no reason to go over there. Because the ball's in the middle and then you go up on the catwalks and run away and that's all there is to it. There's these big fucking venty things on either side that you stand on and for the life of me, it seems like they throw you in a completely random direction. And sometimes don't even get you anywhere. It's just the whole map's retarded. Void Star's got a similar problem to the chasing people down. Void Star's an assault type game. Attacking teams gotta plant bombs on doors to get their way to the database at the end, etc., etc. But the problem is, once the attacking team gets through one set of doors, they're in front of the defending team. So the defending team is chasing the attacking team through the Void Star. The attacking team's in front, so obviously they're going to get to the next objective and plant the bomb. Obviously they're going to get to the objective after that and plant the bomb. Because the defending team's just trying to chase them down as they run through the Void Star planting bombs. Run through unoccupied and barren areas. I mean, I don't know why this problem is here. Because, I mean, obviously this problem doesn't exist in Stand of the Ancients in World of Warcraft. But that's because they made the players take slow-ass vehicles up to the gates, and it's not a matter of planting a bomb and just defending until it goes off. You had to do a lot of things to take the gate down. Void Star, one right-click and a defend for 15 seconds takes out a door. And so when the attacking team is in front of the defending team, and they're just running, because, I mean, it's not going to take a vehicle or anything up like Strand, they get to the next door first and plant the next bomb, obviously. I've literally never even seen a defender get into the database room. Like, the last room you're supposed to have the big epic battle in, like it has the video on the video for the Void Star. I've never seen a defender get into that room. Every single game, attacker blows up that last door, someone hits force speed, runs down there and hits the database, so you don't even get a chance. I mean, it's basically battle for who can hold the first door the longest. And, okay, I'm going to stop ranting about the Void Star. Because they could fix that by finding a way for defenders to get behind everybody. Let's talk about the bigger overarching problems of Battlegrounds, namely that they're all 8v8. All 3 war zones are 8v8. Now to put this in perspective, that is smaller than the smallest battleground in World of Warcraft. That's all of them, and you definitely feel it. It's possible I'm just used to World of Warcraft, I'm just used to 15v15 and 20v20 big battles. But 8v8 just doesn't feel epic to me. Like, it feels like an arena match with some objectives. It doesn't feel like a battle for Alderaan or a big Republic offensive to take back the Void Star. I mean, it feels like a little arena with some objectives sprinkled in. It's too small. They need to add something with some bigger teams. I mean, Battle for Alderaan, the map's reasonably big. You could easily fit 16v16, probably even 20v20 on the Battle for Alderaan map. But no, it's just 8 people. And honestly, it's ridiculous. Like, they need bigger team games in there. I think. I mean, this might just be a personal gripe, but I really want some bigger fucking battles. I really do. Just wrap up another couple things about PvP. There's no companions in war zones, which is understandable because they'd be annoying and there'd just be a pet apocalypse going in there. And in general, PvP is a lot slower paced. It's not World of Warcraft's two-shotting each other. It takes a while to wear somebody down. Now, this applies regardless of a level difference between you, because there's this thing called the bolster system. To describe the bolster system, if I could murder the person that came up with the bolster system and take all his contributions out of the Old Republic, I totally would. The bolster system is the worst idea I have ever seen in a video game. It is horrible. It is absolutely horrible. What it is, there are no level brackets in the Old Republic's Battlegrounds. Level 10 can queue up with level 50. With level 10, I'll get this bolster buff that makes all its stats equivalent to a level 50 that was wearing shitty gear and had no abilities and didn't know how to play. Guarantee you, if they don't fix this, 1 month from launch, every Warzone's going to be who has the most 50s. You cannot just buff a level 10 stats and make him stand up to a level 50. You can't do it. He doesn't have the versatility, he doesn't have the tools to hold up in a fight, he doesn't have the crowd control, he doesn't have the skill. He's a level 10. It's just a ridiculous idea. I can understand putting in like a 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40 brackets and bolstering up to the top of the bracket. That's a great idea. That's a fucking great idea. 10 to 50 is horrible. Just trust me, it does not work at all. Another last couple things about PvP. Healing feels really underpowered. And tanking is a really cool addition. Anyone that's played Warhammer Online, I hear it's about the same system as there. Tanks can taunt opponents in PvP, and the person who's taunted will only do 50% damage unless they're attacking the tank, in which case they'll do full damage. They can also guard a party member and will take 50% of the damage that party member takes for them. So tanking is really cool in PvP. I really like how that works out. Adds a whole other dimension to everything. But that's about the only good thing I have to say about the PvP right now. Don't get me wrong, this PvP's got a lot of potential. I really like the system, like running into people in open world PvP. Those fights are great. They're fucking epic because you have a lot more health, and it's not like a 2-second jib fest. It's like a 1.5-minute long battle, and it's glorious. There's definitely room for them to make the PvP amazing, but as it is right now, it sucks my nuts, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Last thing I want to cover today, and this is just because I got so much excitement out of it, and I've seen so much fucking hate on the forums, is the space combat. So, everyone bitching about the space combat being a rail shooter, I need you to go cut your wrists right now, because you're retarded. It's a fucking minigame. It's not a big focus of the game. It's not supposed to be this big open space EVE Online bullshit. It's a minigame you can play. And oh my fucking god, it's awesome. If you take the goddamn space combat for what it is, it's Star Fox 64 in TOR, really updated with new fancy stuff. It's really fucking fun. I loved it. You can ask Hexiwoo. She got to sit and party chat with me and hear my maniacal giggling as I blew shit up in the space combat missions. I went through all the tutorial ones, or not really tutorial, but all the starter ones as soon as I got my ship. And holy fuck, I love them. They're so much fun. It's really smooth. You can really feel like you're beating wholesale ass, but on that same note, the battles still feel like they're really difficult. I mean, regardless of the fact that I never failed a space combat mission, granted all I did with the starter ones, I never failed them, but they all felt like they were tough. Like, they felt like they were giving me a good challenge. I actually felt like I had to worry, regardless of the fact that I've never actually failed one yet. Because though it does a really, really good job of making the battles feel epic and intense and fun as hell, first of all. That's what's most important, really. Trust me, it's awesome. Quit complaining about it. I fucking love my rail shooter. You can upgrade your ship with all sorts of attachments. There's like 16 different upgrade slots. I don't even know what in the world they all do, because the only upgrade I unlocked was a little, like a health upgrade. But like I said, I only got to play the starter missions because I only got to level 19 or so in the beta. So I mean, granted, all these impressions I've given, they're only up to level 19 in the beta. A, it's a beta, B, it's all low-level content. This is all subject to change. This is all subject to improvement. Space combat is probably going to get a hell of a lot better. PvP hopefully will get a lot better and more balanced up at level 50. I expect dungeons will get a little more difficult as well. General, just closing overview here. This game has got a fuckload of potential, and I really think that a couple months after release, this is going to be a fucking fantastic game. That said, when this game comes out on December 20th, it's going to be about above average. It's not going to be spectacular. It's not going to be fucking mind-blowingly amazing. It'll be above average. I like it better than WoW. But it's nothing like I was hoping for yet. Like I said, I definitely think it'll get there. It's just going to be some time. Recommendation: if you've managed to sit through this entire video, you're obviously interested in TOR. You obviously want to know more about this game. I would definitely say go fucking buy it. Pre-order it. Get yourself the goddamn Old Republic, because it is going to be fucking glorious. And whatever server I decide to play on, get on there. And let us beat some wholesale ass together, because that is how we do business. For the Republic, good day.